There- Therefore, we have prioritised the questions that had a recurring theme and will aim to get as many answered as possible. However, we have also sent all the questions to the candidates so they are aware of what's important to our communities, and if we run out of time and you still have a question you would like to ask the candidates to be aware of, please email it into us and we will pass it on. We would like to thank the candidates from Arklow MD who have joined us this evening. We appreciate your engagement with us and look forward to hearing about why you are running and what's important to you. We would like to thank Dr. Harriet Emerson for agreeing to facilitate tonight's meeting. Harriet has worked with PPNs at local and national level for a number of years. She supported our PPN in developing our vision for community wellbeing in 2018, developing our strategic plan in 2023, and she facilitated a collaborative project with our PPN and Wicklow County Council that resulted in the establishment of the County Wicklow Social Inclusion Network. Dr. Emerson acts as an independent facilitator in a wide range of engagement contexts. This evening, Helen and Grania will support Harriet with timekeeping and in webinar support. Tonight's meeting will begin with each candidate providing us with some information about themselves. Candidates will be permitted 1.5 minutes maximum. It is important that candidates stick to this time frame to allow everybody equal speaking time and to ensure there's time for questions. A clock will run on the screen, and should candidates run over, we will mute them after 5 seconds. But we hope we won't need to do that. In corresponding with candidates prior to this meeting, we have asked that where they cite facts or figures, they should also provide their information source or evidence basis. Wicklow PPN and Wicklow Older People's Council value diversity, and we operate on the principles of respect, equality, and inclusion. We expect that everybody on this call this evening conducts themselves in the same spirit as we do. However, in the unlikely event that dialogue should become insulting, abusive, incendiary, or inappropriate, we reserve the right to remove the perpetrator. It is the role of the Wicklow PPN and Wicklow Older People's Council to support our members to have their voices heard. We do this in the most part by making supportive connections. We look forward to making connections this evening that we hope will be beneficial for everybody now and into the future. Please note that we are recording this session and we will make it available to our members who were unable to join this evening. Thank you everybody for listening, and I would like to now pass the meeting into Dr. Emerson's capable hands. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Conor, and welcome everybody. You've all heard those really very clear ground rules, which are there obviously to make sure that we all have a respectful discussion, hearing from each of the candidates and their responses to the questions that members of the PPN and the Older People's Council have already submitted. And just to be clear that those questions have been grouped together where they've referred to the same topic. So the questions have been sent out to the candidates, and again, I just need to ask that candidates please keep their responses brief and on point, just to allow everyone time to speak and to ensure obviously that members' input's honoured, and we try and get through as many of those questions as we can. Unfortunately, there won't be time for debate, and I think anyway those sorts of conversations with too much toing and froing online become quite problematic. So we're going to keep it to straight presentations. So we'll give each of the candidates their initial 1.5 minutes in alphabetical order. And when we come to deal with the questions, I'll reverse that order backwards and forwards, okay, to make sure that people are speaking in different orders. So on that basis, then, the first person that I'm going to go to for their 1.5 minutes is Tommy Annesley, please.
Okay, thank you very much, Doctor. The advantage of being Annesley, you always get to go first, a bit like Arklow, it always comes up first. I've been a councillor since 2009. I got first elected to the Arklow Town Council, and then in 2014, when the amalgamation of the councils I went for election in 2014. I was very lucky to get elected, and I got elected again in 2019. And now this is my third time going for election, or fourth time going for election. So I'm an Arklow man, out and out. I'm a family man. I was a businessman in the town. I had a number of businesses. Now I'm sort of a full-time councillor for my sins. I have serious interests in, I'm on a number of committees. I'm on the Housing SPC, I'm on the JPC, and I have a lot of interest with the waterways. I'm involved with the RNLI, the Arklow Tidy Towns. I was actually very involved with the first Age Action Positive, setting up that in 2007. So that's when the ESB was running that. And yeah, I hate talking about myself, and I hate I, my, but unfortunately, when you're going for election, you have to say these things. I'm involved with a number of boards and also fundraising. I do a lot of fundraising, and a lot of people would know me for festivals. I got very involved with the Seabreeze Festival, the Maritime Festival, St. Patrick's Festival, a lot of festivals. So I don't see the clock here, but I think I must be coming near the end of my minute and a half, so I'll pass it on. Time's up. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you very much indeed, Tommy, and no encounter with any meeting there. That's great. Okay.
Can I just put in there for a second, just so that the clock should be appearing kind of on my screen, if you can see it. Is that, yeah, and it's counting down. Okay.
Yeah, you were beautifully on time, Tommy, so thank you. But yes, the clock for anyone to watch it is going to appear on Grania's screen, so you need to be looking at her thumbnail to see that. Okay. So can we then go to Viktoria Bodley, please, and hear from you?
Yes, hello everyone, and thanks for having me today. It's my first time running in the local election, and my focus would be fair balance and social inclusion. And I would love to represent all people from all community groups. I'm coming from a very strong educational background, so my focus would be on the cultural aspect, cultural center, artist venue for all. We have a lot of talent in Arklow, and I believe that more has to be done. And I would be very strong communicator, so I would like to represent people from all walks of life, from all community groups in Arklow, and so that their voices are heard. That's me.
Lovely. Thank you very much, Viktoria. That's great. And next we come to Sylvester Burke.
Thank you, Harriet. Yes, I'm a farmer myself. I make my living from the land. I've been an elected councillor since 1999, so I have 25 years of experience. And I work very hard for my community to make sure that everybody gets a fair deal of council resources, I suppose, depending on whether it's road repairs or housing. And for example, I'm advocating tomorrow morning for a child with a disability who is in desperate need of a house, and for a man who's in a tent at the moment. I'm advocating that he get housing. So it's a very busy time, especially with the election coming up now in 4 weeks' time. And one of my main priorities over the last 25 years is ensuring that we don't get left behind in Arklow in terms of infrastructure. And I'm delighted that the Arklow sewage treatment plant is nearly complete, because for 20 years, myself and other councillors have been championing the importance and the need to have that construction completed. And I'm sorry it has taken so long, but finally we're nearly there. And also a lot of housing. We have advocated for more and more housing to be built, and that's an ongoing programme. And I look forward to making sure that we help solve the housing problem, because I think we're going to build about 300 houses now over the next 3 to 5 years. Time up.
Lovely. Thank you very much indeed, Sylvester. That's great. And we move next to Shiela Busher, please.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Good evening. My name is Shiela Busher, and I've been volunteer here in Arklow, community activist for the last 20 years. I'm chairperson of the Community Action Resource Centre, which we see a lot. We work with a lot of marginalised, disadvantaged families. I'm also on Positive Age in Arklow, and I'm on the Drugs Task Force in Arklow. And again, I see the needs in the community, and I was approached to go, and I said, here, I'll try and see what we can do. We do need change in Arklow, and we see we've no homeless shelter, no domestic violence services. Our elderly people are struggling. You know, it's a different poor we have, and we're working with now in the last 8 to 10 years. It's a different poor we have. So that's why I decided to go. That's all I can think of now at the moment. Sorry.
No, that's great. Thank you very much indeed, Sheila. That's lovely.
Thank you.
I'm just checking that Pat Kennedy hasn't joined us. Okay, I know that people have had difficulties with technology and internet coverage, so we'll keep going. The same is also true for Pat Fitzgerald, but we do have Laurie Kearon here. So Laurie, I'm going to go to you next.
Hi, thank you so much for having me, and I'm really pleased to be invited. This is new territory for me, but yeah, my name is Laurie. I live in Ballinaclash and I've lived here for about 25 years. I'm a first-time candidate running in the Arklow LEA, so this is very exciting. But one of the reasons I really wanted to get involved was because I saw a widening gap in the needs of our older and younger people, and especially in our housing and amenities. And for those two groups in particular, these are lacking, and I would like the opportunity to address those matters and commit to working proactively to improve the type of housing, especially that our older citizens need. Where our young people are concerned, if they aren't involved in sport, then in our area, in Rathdrum especially, there's very little to engage them. I would like to look at programs maybe to develop and assist young people to get into the workplace, and if they don't go into third level education, to keep them away from influences that attract them into criminality. And another matter that attracted me into local government initially is when I first moved into Rathdrum. Some old buildings here are derelict, and they have been for years. So that's another thing I'd really like to look at.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Laurie. That's great. I have to say, everybody's timekeeping is wonderful. Thank you. Okay, Pier, I'm going to come to you now, please. Pier Leonard.
Okay, so I'm Pier Leonard. I ran for the first time in 2019, and it's been an eye-opener for the last 5 years, representing my local community and getting to know the world of politics. I feel that I've kind of gained a lot of knowledge in how the system works over the last 5 years, and I suppose the areas that are really important to me. Arklow's on a turning point now with the sewage treatment plant, and we're going to see a lot of development start again. So I think it's ensuring that for all that development and investment that comes into the town, that we ensure that the community is at the heart of having community spaces. I feel that the environment that we live in is not a healthy environment. I think people are really isolated after COVID. We've had a tough few years. So community spaces, building community spaces and creative spaces for intergenerational use is really important to me. We've got some key sites that need to be focused on. We need to build up transport to connect our villages and towns into Arklow and vice versa, and just build on our natural heritage and infrastructure. Our coast needs attention. We've a lot of coastal erosion. Our river is on a turning point of being clean. We need to focus on the Evoca mines now and the next part of getting our river clean, so that eventually someday the kids can use it to swim in and use it more. Infrastructure, I'm on a lot of committees. I'm on almost nearly 18 committees. East Coast Drugs Task Force, the Heritage Forum, Music Generation, the Climate SPC, Arklow Town team. I was involved in the Wicklow Craft strategy. My time's up, is it?
Yeah. Okay, thanks, Pier, for finishing up then. That's great. And I'm going to go next to Miriam Murphy.
Thanks, everybody. I'm Miriam Murphy, and I am going into my 4th election. I can't believe I'm still here 15 years later. I said I'd go for 1 term. So now I'm on my 4th, hopefully, with the election booming here. I suppose my reason for entering was I'm a wheelchair user, and many, many years ago, I realised that people were making decisions of people that I didn't know on where I went, where to live, whatever, because majority of the places weren't accessible. And I suppose disability wasn't a fashionable word going back 15, 20 years ago. So I felt I needed to change the attitude of the decision makers. And that was my reason for going into politics. And I have to say, you know, not just disability, but I have covered and represented people from all walks of life, young and old, which, you know, when they come to us, I think they need a voice there. Also, housing for people with disabilities and independent living would be a very big passion of mine, and getting that communication between the local authority and the people themselves who are applying, because one hat doesn't fit everybody, and that goes across the board. Again, with transport, we've huge improvements to be made in public transport. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Miriam. That's good of you. And I'm going to move now to David Gorman, please. You're on mute, David, sorry. David, you're on mute.
Apologies at the one time. Okay, hello. My name is David O'Gorman, and I live out by Arklow Rock. I'm a single parent. I have 12 children, 7 of whom have grown up and gone to school in Arklow. For the last 5 years, I've been a member of the Kildare and Wicklow Education and Training Board. I'm on the board of management of Glenard College, Avondale Community College, Greystones Community College, and Biffy. I am also on the board of Music Generation. I've never been involved in politics before this, but I'm just so fed up with everything. Everywhere you look, there's neglect. Money thrown at things, boxes ticked, but no follow through. Be it sports, youth services, drug supports, mental health, healthcare, transport, housing, education, tourism, employment. Everything just seems to go around in a circle and nothing really changes. There is now a deluge of announcements as the elections draw near. Some of these announcements are the same ones we heard 5 years ago. Things need to change. Top of my priorities are naturally immigration and ensuring that there are no forced immigration centres imposed upon us. Health, ensuring that our fine new health centres properly resourced and staffed. Housing, ensuring everything that can be done is done. Also, the river and its future development, both commercial and recreation. The harbour area there, water activities, rowing, sailing, visiting boats, pontoons, upriver, get the paddling boats back, rowing boats, river trips, education delivery of the new schools, and youth, better youth coordination between.
Thanks, David. Sorry, the clock just beat you there. Thank you. Okay, and I'm going to come now to Warren O'Toole, please.
Hi, my name is Warren O'Toole, the second Sinn Féin candidate running in the area. I'm a plumber, gas engineer, solar and renewable energy specialist. I'm a parent of a son who has Down syndrome and autism, and this has given me a different kind of perspective on life and the way things are for people. I've grown up in the town. I've witnessed the neglect and indifference towards South Wicklow from the reigning governments over the years, going on too long. Our area is crying out for proper investment in jobs, housing, infrastructure, and community groups support. As a business owner, I value innovative thinking and challenging the status quo. I have a lifelong love of the outdoors, a passion that I hold dear. I see the vast potential that Arklow has that's completely untapped, and some people are broach on it, but things have to be done, and it's disgraceful things haven't been done. I see the significant growth in nature-friendly outdoor recreation for everybody. One of my main focuses is accessibility for all, promoting family and friendship bonding, as well as mental and physical well-being. I believe our communities in South Wicklow are looking for change and crying out for a strong voice. I'm passionate about representing young and old in the community, and I hope I can shape change for the benefit of everybody. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Warren. That's great. Well, we all managed to be very efficient there. So I'm going to move on now to the questions. Again, these are ones that were sent in ahead of time, and I think all of the candidates have been sent the full list. But what the the team has done is essentially condense them down. So where there are multiple issues raised, the same issue raised multiple times, those have been condensed. And we've essentially got a number of questions to go through. And I'm going to go back in reverse order. So I'm going to come to you first this time out, Warren, if that's okay. So the first question that is on our list this evening is to ask you individually as candidates, how will you support local community groups? And specific Arklow example of that is, how can you tell us we can apply for more funding for restoration of old graveyards? Okay, so Warren, we're going to take a minute at a time, and I'm going to come to you first, if that's okay.
I feel the key to supporting community groups is, number one, understanding the needs of the groups. Two, frequent and effective correspondence. And three, strong representation. Community groups need somebody to be proactive instead of reactive. Having relied on community groups myself for my personal situation, I am passionate about representing the views of the local groups and making sure that the concerns of these groups are heard. In regards to funding for graveyards, there's a community monument fund, and this year there was 202,000 was allocated to Wicklow, but the application for Arklow, which include all graveyards, was unsuccessful. So we need to ensure that moving forward it is successful. But we also need better communication of where the funds previously have gone. I know that's something that's come up, and it's something that has to be very transparent.
Okay. Thank you very much, Warren, for answering that. David Gorman, I'm coming to you now, please, on the same question.
Thank you. Well, reading the question, better communications, better use of social media to make people aware of what is available. As was touched on there, I mean, there are funds to cover most things, but they're tucked away under rocks and everything. So better communication, and support for people, better use of social media. Agree with that.
Okay, thank you very much, David. Miriam Murphy, I'm coming to you now, please.
Thank you. Yeah, I would have a strong communication principle as well, because as previous said, communication is the key. I suppose for me, communication, and for the organisations and clubs to know that we're there as councillors to assist them in developing their clubs in any way we can. I know that a small funding locally, but in national, there is many, I suppose, funding sources, like there's sports capital, there's different funding comes out different times of the year, and unfortunately some of the funding is kind of nearly have to be shovel ready. That's what the national funding applications are always, is, you know.
Okay, thank you very much, Miriam. And can I come to you now, please, Pier, Leonard?
Yeah, so community groups, I think community groups need a lot of support in building capacity, I think, and teaching them how to, I think the PPN do a good job on distributing funding and stuff like that, but I think there's shortfalls in the capacity to have, like, you need somebody that's good at accounts, you need somebody that's good at PR, you need somebody that's good at, you know, envisaging a plan for where the community group is going to, and have those goals set out, the short-term and long-term goals and objectives of the group. The most important thing about community groups for me is the connection that happens in community groups, and you know, when everybody comes together. I think that's the gold. But community groups also need spaces, and I think in Arklow there's a lot of community groups that are homeless at the moment. So there is a lot of development money coming because of the development. There'll be percentages for recreational use. So it's really important that we kind of lobby and that we put in submissions into developments, telling people that we need those spaces. Our local area plan is really important. The funding for the restorations of old graveyards, am I? Just contact the heritage officer in Wicklow County Council. Okay. Is brilliant. Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks, Pier. Okay, thank you for that. We're going to go to Laurie. Kearon, please, on the same question.
So I suppose, supporting local community groups would be exceptionally important to me, and there's several ways of supporting them, and that's through funding and grants. There's also resource sharing, increased visibility. So many community initiatives suffer from low visibility, so that impacts their potential to reach the resources they need and make a success out of it. I would hope to use the platform of being candidate or being once I'm elected to promote those groups, and through social media, council events, and collaborations with local media. But as far as the graveyards go, the Wicklow County Council's Heritage Office would be the ones to contact on that score. So I was just trying to finish what Pier had said originally. So
thanks very much. Thank you. Okay, we next come to Shiela Busher, please.
Hi, yeah, I think the same as a lot of the previous. We need good communication. Being a chairperson of the resource centre, we are so totally volunteer group, and we get 300 a year from the council to run the resource centre, and it's only from the goodwill of the councillors ringing or we looking for it. We have to go out and find where the grants are, and application forms are so hard to fill in. You need a degree to fill in some of them, so looking at making it easier for people to fill in the application forms. Other than that, I think we need kind of a base that we can just all have, maybe send out to groups. This is where funding is coming from, and maybe try and apply for it, and help them fill in forms and stuff like that, because it is a nightmare to get someone to fill in the forms for, the local groups. And we do need more structures, buildings and stuff for community groups. There's a lot have no home, resource centre, we have that, but other than that, there is no place.
Thanks very much, Shiela, for that. And we'll take the same question to Sylvester. Burke, please.
Yes, I have to agree that more communication, better communication from the council about the multi-streams of funding that are available needs to be communicated to possible recipients and groups. With regard to the graveyard maintenance, it's a big issue for the council. It always has been, because of lack of money to maintain existing graveyards. They only do a bare amount. And even the heritage graveyards, we're depending on the efficiency of Deirdre Burns, our heritage officer, in drawing down heritage grants from the Heritage Council, which is difficult in our area. I know the one that you're talking about there is probably the old Kilbride graveyard, and it's an ongoing challenge, but I believe that very soon funding will be achieved for maintaining that graveyard to a greater extent. So I guess we just have to keep switched on to all the possibilities that are out there. There's even non-governmental foundations prepared to fund community groups. The Rise Foundation, for example. Time's up.
Okay, thank you very much. Thanks, Sylvester, for sticking to time. Can I ask the same question to Viktoria Bodley, please?
Yes, everybody talks about communication, and I totally agree with everybody. But there is a very important thing. There has to be some person has to actually be appointed who would actually represent those groups and who would actually be a communication channel in the county council. Because at the moment, from my experience, there is none. So there are community groups, and they are there and they have their needs. There is no structure in place, I believe, that actually, and there's no education in place, how to help them, person who would actually take the leadership, become a leader, and who would help them and show them how to do so, and who would be doing it on a regular basis and address all the questions and concerns in the Wicklow County Council. That would be my kind of idea, and that's what we need at the moment, because communication, as we all say, this is a key, transparency. So in relation to the graveyards, I think Wicklow County Council would have more information on that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Viktoria. And lastly on this question, can I come to you, please, Tommy Annesley?
Thank you. If we have learned anything from COVID, it is that the amount of volunteers that are out there in Wicklow, all willing to help. And when we had the COVID crisis, the amount of volunteers that came to the front, and there's been several grants, extra grants being made available now for COVID and for the coming out of COVID, and the Brexit grants as well that are available. Now, I would disagree with a lot of my colleagues, because Wicklow County Council were very active putting all the grants up on their line. But for the people that weren't active online, that's where the councillors came in. They could provide each group with where they could get funding. Now, I do agree totally that it's very hard to fill out these forms, but when you've got someone in your group that's passionate about getting funding, they will find a way to fill them out. Also, just to go on about the graveyard a little bit there, like the amount of grass that Wicklow County Council have to look after is unbelievable. So that's also where the volunteers come in place for the graveyards, and they do.
Thanks, Tommy. Sorry, it's brutal, this cut-off business, but unavoidable, I'm afraid. And in the interest of fairness, I'm going to keep applying it. Well, actually, I'm not the one with the stopwatch, so I'm just doing the talking. And I apologise also for it probably sounds a little bit artificial, my calling everybody by their full name, but you're all standing on a ballot, and it's your name that people are going to be looking at, and so I think it's important that that's what I continue to use. So I hope you'll forgive that. Okay, thank you for that. We're going to return to our sort of straightforward alphabetical routine with the second question. And that question is around social housing. And it is to ask you as candidates, are you committed to ensuring housing for all, including older people and people with disabilities? And if elected, what will you do to achieve this? So I'm going to ask that first to you, Tommy Annesley.
Sorry. Yeah, thank you. Before I got elected to the council, I was on the Chamber of Commerce, and I got put on the Housing SPC. Now, I've been on the Housing SPC since 2007, so I had a key role in getting houses into Arklow. Now, you've got to remember, in Arklow, we've had no treatment plant, so we've been very successful in building houses with no treatment plant. Now, the Wicklow County Council have a policy in now, if they're building 3-bedroom houses, they always leave room for a bedroom downstairs when people get older. So, and especially in the 2 beds as well, they always take that into consideration where they're building these houses. And like we've built Sheen's Court on Lower Main Street, that was for older people. St. Mary's Court, that was for older people. And then the old library was turned into units for older people. Now, it's vital that when we get the housing planning permission for all these housing estates, sorry, I'm gone now.
Thank you, Tommy. Sorry, it is very short when people have plenty to say, so forgive us for that one. But I'm going to take the same question to you, please, Viktoria. Bodley.
Yes, I would be very short. So what I would concentrate on, I would get the list of all people in Arklow, our Arklow district area, who are actually in need for the accommodation, social accommodation, whether they're young or old, and I would consider each case individually, and it's not that many, it's not millions of population, it's actually quite realistic. And then I would go from there, and I would consider every case, whether it's a young family needs an affordable house, whether it's an elderly couple, whether it's a widow, because it is very important. Everybody needs to have a home. This is a foundation of our society. So that would be my first priority when I get in. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Viktoria. And I'm going to take the same question to Sylvester Burke, please.
Yes, well, I think the municipal district in Arklow has a very good record on housing over the last 5 years, because we built about 300 houses in our district, and we intend to build at least another 300 over the next 3 to 5 years. We have a waiting list of about 1,000 people, so we're making huge strides to house them all, and we're building a mixture of housing to cater for young and older people that want to downsize, and for larger families, and for people with disabilities. So I would say that I would proudly stand on our record of achievement, and our policy for housing for all is very inclusive now, and it will be even more so over the next 5 years. So it's an exciting time for people who are actually on a long time on the waiting list. Their dreams, I hope, will be fulfilled in a couple of years.
Okay, thank you very much, Sylvester. And the same question then to Shiela Busher.
I like the rest. I think everyone deserves a home. And again, I see a different people with disabilities and older people and a lot of single people struggling to get houses on the waiting list, 13, 14 years. I think again, if I get elected, we should look at all the derelict houses that's around that's owned by the council and it's not being converted for people with disabilities. It wouldn't cost as much to change them as it would to build a new house for them. There is going to be a lot of new buildings coming on in when we have our storage plants. So again, I can't really talk much on that, but it's to look at the derelict houses that we have, the empty houses, and every town and street has them, and to see, you know, can they be done much cheaper, I'd reckon, than building a new house for people.
Okay, thanks very much, Shiela. That's great. And can we move on again to Laurie Kearon, please?
Yeah, so this is an area I know a little bit about, but I'm committed really to everyone in our area, including the older people and those people with disabilities that should have access to affordable housing. And if elected, this is kind of what I would plan to do, regardless of obviously wanting to increase the social housing stock. We should engage partnerships with developers. So those would be between developers and the council to ensure that universal design principles were taken in hand. Support, especially for home adaptations, I think that's something we need to look at as well. So older people can modify their own home, especially to suit their needs. And I don't think enough of that is done. Also, collaborative policy development, closely working with organisations representing adults and people with disabilities and older people to make an approach that ensures that they will.
Thanks, Laurie. Sorry, you got silenced at the end there by the bell. Thank you. Okay. The same question to Pier, Leonard, please.
I think, look, you know, social housing, there will be an increase in social housing, probably in the form of the housing bodies, which is, you know, where developers build houses and rent them back to the councils. Then I'd like to see more publicly owned land, social housing being built by the council on publicly owned land that they will own themselves as a long-term investment, a combination of affordable actually and social housing is what's needed, you know, an integrated sheltered housing for older people, so that people can stay in their houses for as long as possible without, you know, and with maybe some sort of a support system there, like some sort of a community facility that, you know, one person can be employed to help keep those people in their houses as long as possible, so that they don't have to go into care or into hospitals. With new development, a percentage of the houses are going to be social housing. There's a real need for the regeneration of the main street to consist of social housing as well. One bedrooms are really needed. Thanks.
Okay. Thanks very much, Pier. That's great. And Miriam Murphy, the same question to you, please. Sorry, you're still on mute, Miriam.
All right, yeah, it's so important to have social housing, but also in not just our towns, but in our villages as well. I am quite frustrated, I suppose, with the waiting list of the housing system. I think there's a huge communication gap between the allocations and local councillors, which would used to be a very good system, but that system has stopped. But I think Arklow certainly has improved the increase of building apartments and housing, and I think it's the future, as a previous councillor said, is bright, and I think the standard of housing is fantastic. but it's the waiting list that I have the problem with.
Okay, thank you very much, Miriam. And the same question to you, David O'Connor. Oh, Gorman, sorry, excuse me.
Thank you. Well, I suppose, yes, I'd be very committed to the ensuring housing for all. Not being a member of the council, I'm not 100% sure on how it all works. But one thing I'd certainly work would be to try and do away with all the red tape that just constantly holds things up. To take a common sense approach for the council to build its own houses on publicly owned land, and to work with the community and not to be taking instructions from Dublin as to how things should be done in Arklow. Leave it at that.
Okay, thank you very much, David. And to you also, Warren O'Toole, please.
Yeah, obviously I support it also. Everybody should have a place that they can call their own and call home. It's vitally important for every aspect of your well-being. Unfortunately, the experience of some people with disabilities has been a bit lacking, and there's been a lot of frustration around it. We need a strategy that works for people, and the current government realistically aren't doing it, and some of our representatives here should maybe hang their heads in a little bit of shame. We need proper actions and proper time frame on things. We need, as the last speaker said, cut the red tape on a lot of the stuff also. People have to be kind of held accountable for some of the stuff that's going on, and unfortunately there's a lot of that isn't happening. A lack of coordination between the HSC and local authority has resulted in a lot of people with disabilities being given unsuitable housing that they can't take up.
Sorry, Warren, you're out of time, but thank you for that. I am going to come back to you though with our next question as the first person to answer our next question, if that's okay. So the third question, which we have this evening in terms of where the concentration of focus was from the member groups and members that submitted these. And so that third question is, what is your stance on social inclusion, and how would you create a society within which everybody feels they belong? So I'll ask that, starting with yourself, please, Warren O'Toole. You're still unmuted, sorry.
Yeah, well, this is a topic very close to my heart. My son, Alex, is 21. He has Downs and autism, and I've spent the last 21 years advocating for people with disabilities. I'm 100% committed to building a more inclusive society where everyone feels that they belong. Education is vital for this, educating young people, but also old people. Everybody has to be educated around this, understanding and taking a look at the bigger picture. Access to health and happiness is unequal across the county also. In particular, people in lower socioeconomic groups and people with disabilities. We need to focus on well-being and wellness, mental health, positive psychology, and community building. It is crucial that if we are to build a new, inclusive and just society, that all obstacles to a person's development are dismantled.
Thank you very much, Warren. Just wonderfully to time, thank you. And the same question to you, David O'Gorman, please.
Well, I mean, everything should be done to make everyone feel included where possible. I feel that Arklow does a fairly good job at it, given given that we're a very multicultural town. But it also falls upon the individual as well to engage. You get an awful lot that we should be doing more, but people who may feel they're on the edges need to let their voices be heard, because I think as a town we are very inclusive. We also need, of course, to build on the services that are available, and again, it comes back to communication, making people aware that one, they're not alone, and that there are services out there. Thank you.
Thank you very much, David. The same question then to Miriam Murphy, please.
Thank you. Yeah, I suppose it's a huge field to comment on, but I think everyone has a right and everyone should be made feel equal. And I think, again, it's coming back to communication. But I think that funding is a major gap there, because some of these social inclusion groups are working on their own, but they haven't got enough resources. And I think they should be, pooled together. But sometimes we are afraid to share our identity, where we should be working bigger, but every group has their own identity. I think, again, coming from the top down, the government has a lot of these policy committees, but the policies are not being enacted. And I think that's where the problem is. It's not filtering down to local level. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Miriam. And Pier, Leonard, same question to you, please.
Well, this is something I feel very passionate about. I think we definitely need to break down the barriers, and a lot of people that are on the kind of peripheries, they need to not have to fight for, they're the people that we need to be helping and supporting, and they shouldn't have to battle to get the things that they need just to be equal. We have the new Sinn committee and the Social Inclusion Network. They need to be at those meetings, and their voices need to be up in Wicklow County Council at the committee meeting level, and we need to facilitate that as much as we can. We need more accessibility to our natural assets. At the moment, we've no access onto the South Beach for anybody in a wheelchair. We need more infrastructure. There's lots of funding there, but it's just kind of coordinating it all and making it at the heart of accessibility. We need a change in place in the town. These are all things that I'd like to kind of support, and sensory spaces for neurodiverse people. And we need a diversity of spaces as well. Not everybody wants to be in a big group or a big crowd, so we need to kind of provide alternative spaces. I think our libraries are great spaces. We need to grow them and make them bigger.
Thank you very much, Pier. That's great. And the same question then to Laurie, Kearon, please.
Yeah, so, well, fostering a social inclusion for everybody is kind of where I'm at with this. Regardless of people's background or abilities or circumstances, it's very important that people, especially disabled people and older people, have mobility issues, should be able to access everything that everyone else accesses. So that would include, I actually put a video up the other day about the Motte Stone. People who are disabled can't reach that. So that was one of the things that I feel is very important, and that includes transport as well. So accessibility improvements very important, and also coming into that fold as well, I think, is anti-discrimination measures for people who are from another country. There's a lot of discrimination, and it really worries me quite deeply, especially at the moment. And okay, we better stop.
Thank you, Laurie. And Shiela Busher, the same question to you, please.
I would have been involved years ago with this first social inclusion network, and we found that it was a great tool to use, getting groups together and talking about the issues that each group affected, their struggles and functioning groups, and what was their obstacles stopping them, and a lot of issues would come up. So yes, we have a drop in at our local resource centre, and it's exclusive of everybody come in. And sitting down around a table discussing the problems is kind of, where you find the issues that affect people. We've homelessness and domestic violence situations in the town. And again, it's educating people and breaking down the barriers that these people need help. And the first port of call is usually our centre, and we refer them on to the agencies that can help them. It's a struggle. It's a struggle because, they haven't got the tools to talk to the people. And then it's constant phone calling and stuff like that.
Thank you, Shiela. And the same question, please, to Sylvester Burke.
Well, I think that social inclusion and fostering a better place is really important. It was great to see recently a university team described Arklow as the 5th best place to live. I think that the reason why this is on a question is because society is actually breaking down and people are feeling left behind. And I think social media has a lot to blame for that. There's a toxicity about it that people are not nice to each other anymore. They're having a go and they're saying things on social media that they wouldn't say to people's face. I think we need to start by breaking that down. We should discard social media. And I think that we should be nice to each other and be pleasant to each other and spend time helping each other, because that's, I think, the bedrock of a good society. And I think it'll be really important if we're going to thrive as a successful model where everyone will feel included and everybody should be valued.
Thank you very much, Sylvester. So then the same question, please, to Viktoria Bodley.
Yes, and coming from multicultural background, I actually want to express my thanks to Arklow, and I've been very welcome here. And I actually believe that Arklow is one of the best places in Ireland to live. So I've been living here for the last 6 years, and I feel that it's became my home. It's my spiritual home. So as a voice, multicultural voice, and I'd say that more can be done, and I would really concentrate on 2 groups, like the youth and our elderly groups. Now, I'm a language teacher, and I believe that more community social activities have to be there, facilitated for people of all age groups and of all interests. And as I very much agree with Steve, that we need personal engagement with everybody, and so people are at the core, at the heart of everything we do. So people is our main asset.
Thank you very much, Viktoria. And the same question to you, Tommy Annesley.
Thank you. First of all, thank you, Viktoria, for acknowledging Arklow. We welcomed you with open arms. And I feel that is the way, because if you go up the main street in Arklow, you will see the first Arklow Pride pedestrian crossing, and that's what Arklow done for inclusion, social inclusion. Also for disabilities, there's a lot being done, more to be done as well. But I feel everyone is welcomed in Arklow, no matter what background you're from or where you've came from. There's a lot of groups facilitating people, like Shiela, well done for the resource centre as well. The libraries are great, as Pier said. And there's a lot of things that are happening in the town for social inclusion for people as well. It's very exciting times ahead. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Tommy. I'm going to come back to you in a second with the next question which we have. And this is asking each individual candidate, what will you do to make Wicklow as a county become the best place to grow old in? Okay, so I'm going to start with yourself again, please, Tommy Annesley.
Okay, thank you. Well, it's been mentioned already about transport. We have a great a bus link service already set up. You can go from Arklow to Naas, and it's all about transport for elderly people. The amount of people I see using the buses in Arklow town, but that's great if you're in the town. But when you're if you're in Auckland, you have to get the rural link buses. So that is a benefit to the people in the countryside. But as I said, I am an Arklow man. I lived all my life in County Wicklow, so I've no intention of not growing old anywhere else, only in Wicklow, County Wicklow and Arklow. What else could we do for the elderly in the county to grow old in? The library has been mentioned a couple of times in the conversations here. They're great facility to have in a town and villages. So they are living up to their reputation, I believe. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Tommy. And the same question to Viktoria Bodley, please.
You know what would be great if we had, and I know that some counties already have it, and it's brilliant. If we had some kind of a town link, kind of between actually estates, and maybe for mini buses that would actually collect elderly people and take them to Tesco, and then super value, you know, the key points, roundabout, so that they can, or shopping center, so that they can do their shopping. And then they, instead of taking taxi with their bags, they can actually get the bus home. Key estates in Arklow, and I don't think it's a lot of money. I think it's absolutely realistic. That's one thing. And another thing that would be my focus, cultural center, you know, the center for people to go and see plays, theater, all kind of art, because if you don't see it, you know, it's very, very important. If you don't see it, you don't become it. That would be my focus.
Thank you very much, Victoria. Sylvester Burke, same question to you, please.
Well, Harriet, I think as I get older myself, and maybe if I'm no longer a councillor, I'd like to think that I would be well motivated to get up early out of bed and to be active and healthy and have easy access to countryside. And I think the bus links, the transport links will be very important to maintain and improve those for older people. And also the active retirement groups and older people's networks, I think they're crucial as well, because older people have a huge amount to offer to the community, to younger generations that are coming along. And that should be tapped into as well in terms of, you know, advice, wisdom, a different perspective on things, perhaps mental health, help with that, because it's a wonderful achievement to be able to grow old gracefully and healthily. And I think that our older people should be cherished, and we're all getting there gradually. So it's up to all of us to make sure that it's a nice place to be. So I'll do all I can to make sure that happens.
Thank you very much, Sylvester. And I'm going to ask Shiela Busher for the same question.
I think, like Victoria, we need a local bus that will bring the elderly people around. I would see a lot of people in our estates trying to get shopping and stuff, and they're not able to get out, and it's €8 taxi to and from the shopping centres and stuff. Also, we had a care and repair programme in the resource centre where volunteers go out and do little jobs in the home for people, and I would like to see that set up again, maybe with more funding, that we'd have more volunteers actually doing the jobs for them. Also, I see with the council having you, Miriam Bandowell, doing going in and assessing people's needs in the home. I think elderly people should be able to get that. She's going around, it's a pilot scheme, and it's a great scheme that's going to happen so that people can stay in their homes and see what needs the elderly people need, and to give them access to all kinds of repair stuff, and, you know, if they need medical equipment and stuff put into their homes. Sorry.
Thank you very much, Shiela, for that. And Laurie, Kearon, the same question to you, please.
Yeah, so this is an area I'm very passionate about, and I won't mention the buses again because that's something that's always been mentioned, so I won't repeat it. But I think the most important thing is really support for carers, and also trying to keep older people in their homes rather than when they're sick taking them to hospital. My daughter is a carer, and she could do very simple things like giving someone a painkiller. She's not allowed to do that. So I think more education, more training for people to keep older people in their homes. The other thing I'm very passionate about as well is trying to keep people safe. We need more policing, and we need more initiatives for that. I don't like the idea of older people being attacked and robbed in their own homes, and I think that's something we also need to look at, is policing.
Thank you very much, Laurie. And can I take the same question, please, to Pier Leonard?
Yeah, I suppose where I'm coming from, I think community, I think if we build our community is fractured. It needs to be built back up, and I think restoring our town centres is vital to that. You know, we need community spaces, outdoor and indoor. We don't have anywhere in the evenings for people to even have a cup of coffee, other than pubs. We need other spaces for people to be able to meet each other. We need community gardens. We need more craft and art spaces, you know, community education and facilities so that people can do, as the library rolls out lots of things, but they're limited there with just one little community room. We need toilets and services on our beaches. We need to bring as much services down into the HSE primary care building to prevent people having to go on the road up to Dublin to hospitals when unnecessarily. So, but community, like reconnecting community, I think is the main thing that will keep everybody well and everybody passively looking after each other within the community, and fresh food. If we can grow our own food and thank you.
Thanks very much, Pier. And Miriam Murphy, the same question to you, please.
Thank you. Yeah, I think, I know that I would be guilty of this, that I want to get involved with things and I'd say, no, I'm too lazy. But I think, you know, the beneficial of that is, you know, to try and network with similar people. And I think like the active retirement, I mean, I go up there quite often and visit them on a Friday morning. And, you know, the amount of people that have moved to Arklow over the years to retire here is so positive. And they love it and they love networking with other groups. And I think that keeps you alive. And I think growing old in Wicklow is very positive in the sense of that there is a lot of community groups and there's a lot of resources. But I just think sometimes the individual can be very lazy. I know I'm guilty of it. And, you know, I'd say I want to get involved in things and then it comes to it and say, oh, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Miriam. And can I take the same question, please, to David O'Gorman?
Thank you. As a county, I think it's a fairly good place already. But again, it's ensuring that what is available, what is happening, etc., is clearly communicated to people, groups, and organisations, and that we pay attention to listen to what people are asking for, to what they feel might be missing. I'll leave it at that.
Okay, thank you very much, David, and to you as well, Warren O'Toole.
Well, older adults face unique challenges when it comes to being active in the community. And it's often the small details that make the difference between an age-friendly community and one that isn't. Age-friendly communities start at home, and we need to make sure that there is no waiting list for the grants that are available and that they're easily accessible to all these individuals. We also need to evaluate the environment. As we age, mobility becomes more difficult, and we need to look at the design of buildings, parks, transit areas, transport, all the infrastructure. We need to kind of future-proof a lot of the stuff because there's a lot of planning that's gone on that hasn't been for the future, and we need to change that drastically.
Thank you very much, Warren. Okay, and I'll come back to you again in a second, if I may, with the next question. So the next question that has been submitted is to ask each of you as candidates what it is that you're doing in your own life to help reduce your carbon footprint or your climate impact. Okay, so I'm going to come to you first, please, Warren O'Toole.
Well, this is the field that I kind of specialise in, being a renewable energy specialist, heating contractor. I work daily helping people reduce their carbon footprint through efficient systems, passing on the knowledge and advising them what changes they can make regarding their homes and all that sort of stuff. But again, education is the key, and passing on that knowledge. My love for the outdoors and nature is what pushes me to make small changes, every change possible, and to contribute to reducing my carbon footprint. I definitely would kind of really encourage that schools do certain programs to really get the children engaged in a lot of the environmental stuff. But again, a lot of older people also need to just be made aware of certain things, and it's vital for everybody.
Thanks very much indeed, Warren. And the same question then to David O'Gorman, please.
Right, I was sort of stuck somewhat on this one. Like I said, I mean, I've always been very conscious of my surroundings, and living with nature. I mean, I would have always, and I still do, recycle where and when possible. I mean, if something washing machine breaks, you do your utmost to fix it before you think about it. It's not really much more. I mean, I would be very conscious. I make sure the children are very aware. That's about it.
Thank you very much, David. And the same question to Miriam Murphy, please.
Sorry. Yeah, I had to think hard about this question as well. And I suppose my resources are limited, not being able to go out and do it myself. But I mean, like that, I recycle and as much as I can. I have to say I stuck on this question. Sorry.
Okay, thank you very much, Miriam. And I'm going to ask the same question to Pier. Leonard, please.
I have 240 acorns from Jane Jackson in my front garden. I fostered them. So I'm doing my little bit. They go back up to Greystones to be planted there, saplings. She has a scheme there. But apart from that, I recycle. I'm involved with a lot of groups supporting them, the East Wicklow Rivers Trust, the biodiversity in Glenart, working with Quilcha, just through kind of other committees that I'm on outside of the council, to try and increase the corridors and stuff like that around our local area. I think by creating, I'm very involved with the arts and setting up the 402 Art Collective. So by creating experiences, it kind of gives people an alternative to consumerism. You know, by getting to spend time with who they enjoy, spending time with and doing alternative things other than buying stuff unnecessarily. Yeah, and just trying to kind of, I suppose, promote that in our local area as well. Then just, you know, active participation in our natural surroundings.
Thank you very much, Pier. And the same question to Laurie, Kearon.
Yes, so I live in quite an old house, so I think I'll be going to you, Warren, for some advice maybe later about doing something with my house. But I mean, I practice water conservation, so I have water butts everywhere, saving rainwater. I have a little bit of land because I have some ponies, so I have been planting trees. I shop local, so I don't have to travel too far to get to a supermarket. So I try to shop in Rotherham as much as I can. And for my big shop, I tend to go to Aldi. So I try not to travel too far to do my main shopping. But you know, like everybody else, I recycle, and I take a lot of my recycling to Avoca. So yeah, I do my best with what I have. I mean, I can't afford an EV. I'd love one, but they're just too expensive. But if I could afford one, I would certainly buy one. So I think that's about all I can say.
Thank you very much, Laurie. I'm going to take the same question to Shiela Busher, please.
I'm involved with Food Cloud, and for the last 10 years, we're 10 years picking up waste food from Tesco's, Aldi and Lidl. And we've got Apple Green and Mr. Price now coming on board with us, trying to get the supermarkets to not throw out all the food, the sell-by dates. We've 165 families we deliver food to 5 nights a week with 28 volunteers delivering it to the families. I'd like to get more shops and stuff and restaurants on board because people throw out so much waste. It's, you know, the need is there, but it's just to get the shops to come on board. I do my own bit of recycling and stuff here, but again, that's about as much as I do. I plant trees and I pick up shrubs on the road, and I'll come with slips and give them out to families as well. That's about it.
Thank you very much, Shiela. And the same question then to Sylvester Burke, please.
Yes, Harriet, I installed 10 solar panels on the roof of the house January, and working really well. And today I was carbon neutral because I just looked at my.
Sylvester, I may just be me, but you're very quiet. Could you?
Right.
Could you
yeah, so I was just going to say, yeah, that I was carbon neutral today in what electricity I generated and exported to the grid was greater than what I consumed. So I've made the investment in renewable energy, and it's working very well. So other than that, I've championed recently as well the deposit return scheme on bottles and cans to try to encourage more people to recycle to the fullest extent possible. because from litter picks I've been involved in, you know, on the Arklow to Auckland Road, it was amazing that like up to 70% of the waste we were picking up was recyclable bottles and cans. So I'm glad actually that the scheme is in place, but I'm surprised that people still are throwing away their deposits out the window of the car, because with the recent litter pick, I'd say 5% of what we picked up was recyclable deposit return.
Okay, thank you very much, Sylvester. And the same question, please, to Viktoria Bodley.
Yes, I do as much recycling as I possibly can as well. And I have installed the smart meter, gas meter in my house. So I do consume the energy in a smart way. Another thing that I would like to point out as well, I did minimize my consumption. It's in relation food, in relation of the clothes as well. So I do support charities, local charity shops, and I believe in sustainable fashion. So, you know, I think fast fashion is really destructive in the whole of the world. So I do believe in not just in recycling, but in actually sustainable consumption as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Viktoria. And to you, Tommy Annesley.
Thank you. My small contribution is I live about 4 minutes outside of the town, and I could jump into the car and drive in, but I more than likely jump on the bicycle and cycle in. Now, the advantage of cycling in Arklow is you don't have to pay for parking. You can park your bicycle on a double yellow line. You will not get a ticket for it. Now, these are small things, but I feel like every time I cycle across the bridge, you're getting fresh air, you're meeting people, you can stop and talk to somebody if you want to stop, and if you don't want to stop, keep going. Now, obviously, I also recycle my milk bottles and cans and whatever else has to be recycled. But I also feel that we're missing a trick in Arklow, because our recycling centre from Ferrybank is about 1.5 kilometres away. So I feel we do need a recycling centre on this side of town, which is Ferrybank. And we did have recycling bins down at the leisure centre for bottles and cans, but unfortunately, antisocial behaviour, they were burnt out. But that's my little bit.
Thank you very much, Tommy. Okay, so the next question is similar in subject, and that is to ask each of you, which climate actions do you see as urgent locally within this municipal district? Okay, which climate actions do you see as locally as urgent in the Arklow Municipal District? And I'm going to start with you, please, Tommy Annesley again.
Thank you again. Well, obviously, the first thing I'm going to say is I believe the wind turbines is going to be life-changing in Arklow. The amount of solar panels that have gone in for planning permission around the area of Arklow as well, that's massive. So just let me go back to that question. Would you like me to pick one which I think needs to be...
What you think is urgent in the Arklow area?
Obviously, I believe the wind turbines are the most urgent to get completed, because that would save, like, if all that electricity was going into the grid from wind energy, would be fantastic. Plus, it would bring employment to the town and bring activity down the harbour. And like the solar panels as well on the houses, there's great schemes out there for that as well. Okay, now I'm trying to watch the time here, but thank you.
Okay, that's great, thank you. And the same question to you, please, Viktoria Bodley.
Yeah, that's a tricky question. I probably would agree with Tommy, because that's what's going for Arklow, and that's what is, you know, project that is already on the way and it's nearly completed. So, and it's a lot of energy and a lot of funds and a lot of effort involved in that. I suppose this would be probably the main priority. Wind turbines would be probably the best, you know, the most important at this time and moment. Thank you.
Thank you, Viktoria. And the same question to Sylvester Burke, please.
Harriet, yes. Well, I'm very concerned about climate change. I'm living through it at the moment. It's having a huge effect on my business and on my fellow farmers. We are still trying to plant crops here because we've had like 8 or 9 months of continuous rain. We should be finished up planting a month ago, and we're still struggling to get plants into the ground because the ground is still very wet. Milk output is down about 15%, and it's all weather related. We've had excessive rain. If it continues like this, we may not be able to continue in business in the future because it's already going to have destroyed. We're into a salvage operation this year. Our livelihoods are going to be fairly decimated as a result of the climate change we're experiencing. It's a huge concern. We'll have to recalibrate our whole system of production because we won't be able to carry on unless we can reverse climate change and get normal weather patterns restored.
Thank you very much, Sylvester. I'm going to come to Shiela Busher next.
Tricky question, but I agree with Tommy in that I think the wind turbines is needed, and I think it will bring employment in that and a lot of energy. As for I wouldn't have much more to say on that. Sorry.
Okay, thank you very much. I think Laurie, you needed to just top out for a moment, so I'm going to go to Pier next, Pier Leonard, and I'll come back to you, Laurie, if that's okay.
I think the wind farms will happen. You know, they're in economic development, so we can be sure that they're happening. I think the most important thing for me is our coastal protection and our marine protected areas, because they're the things that don't really have a voice and there's no money to be earned from them. We're losing our beautiful British Bay, and as far as down as Clugga, there's been landslides and substantial erosion of the dunes. Our seabed is almost dead. We need to really kind of push the marine protected areas, I think, and restore our sea and our land. You know, I think they're the most important things to me, and our food security, flooding of you know, country and urban areas. A lot of it's infrastructural, but because of the rainfall spoken to about, Sylvester's mentioned it there, I think that it's an area that really needs help, because if we can't provide food for our communities, we're at real risk of just being able to sustain ourselves.
Thank you very much, Pier. That's great. Miriam Murphy, same question to you, please.
Yeah, it's another question that stumbled me, but I'm thinking of it, listening to others. I think the wind farms, and we've been listening to wind farms, I suppose, for the last 10 years or maybe a little bit more. So I'd really like to see them flourish and to give exactly what they're meant to do, to give energy and clean up the environment. But again, as we all have said, I think this is an area that even ourselves, as people that probably should know but don't, is our education about it. Because I feel I probably need to push myself to find out more information about this in the future.
Okay, thank you very much, Miriam. And to you, David O'Gorman, next, please.
Yes, what everyone has mentioned is the wind farms up and running. I mean, they've been talking about this for 20, 30 years. Every year they're coming. So hopefully this time. Sorting the river. I mean, there's one thing we're going to remove all the sewage going into it, but it's cleaning it up and all the jobs that will bring, with the potential tourism, with the paddle boats back on the river. Then providing clear information to the community on actions they can take to refit their homes, solar panels, etc., and removing all the red tape involved with planning, etc., in doing these things, because some of it is they're given out of one hand, and then they're basically blocking you with the other hand, because you got to apply for this permission or that permission for, you know, common sense is needed, and I mean it is lacking an awful lot of the planning. Leave it at that.
Okay, thank you very much, David. Warren O'Toole, please.
Just to tip on what kind of Pier was saying, I'd second that. I mean, coastal erosion, two direct environmental actions is coastal erosion and flood protection, definitely those two. But we also have to have realistic and coherent implementation of different strategies. Now, I have a few, but I'll just give you one example. These strategies have immediate effect with minimum cost to people. There's a lot of talk about solar panels and all that, but they're expensive. I install them. But the biggest heat source in the county and in the country is oil boilers. We need an initiative to support the promotion of greener fuels like HVO, hydrogenated vegetable oil. This can be your heating systems and diesel cars can be upgraded onto this, and it reduces net CO2 emissions by 90%. It's a massive, massive balancing of the carbon footprint. The problem with a lot of these sort of things, the benefit of this.
Sorry, Warren, you had a lot to say there, and I'm sorry that the time ran out on you. I will come back to you in a second with the next question, but Laurie, Kearon, you're going to come in on this one.
Yes, so I live next to a river, so I do suffer from flooding. So I'm well aware of the issues that those type of things can cause, and the difficulties it could cause. But I won't talk about flooding because somebody else has already mentioned it. But what I would say is transportation is the big thing for me, because without a decent transport service, we are using our cars more. So I would be looking to try and improve our transport services within the town and maybe throughout Wicklow. I've commuted to Dublin for many, many years, and it's just expensive, and they use a diesel train still. I mean, why can't we go electric? And you know, try and make travel cheaper so more people use it, so they're out of their cars a little bit more. I think that's really the way to go in the future.
Thank you very much, Laurie. Okay, we're actually making good progress. I appreciate that from the point of view of the candidates in the room, you may feel a little bit like you're in a wind tunnel, but please remember that there will also be people who'll be able to see this recording, and it gives them a unique opportunity to see who their democratic choice is on this round of elections. So the next question that I've got, and I'm going to start again with Warren or Toole, if that's okay. The question is, how will you support the creation and protection of biodiversity in our area that's relating to land and sea? Okay, Warren. Sorry, you're still on mute, Warren.
This is kind of an action that I've been undertaking for years, planting native trees in different areas. But we need to introduce more native trees by using the Miyawaki method. This method involves planting trees closer together, resulting in trees growing 10 times faster than what they normally would. We need to introduce nature-based policies that are fit for purpose and not just ideas. Developing and preserving different habitats. Litter management is a massive thing, and we really need to look at the use of disposable products. And that's kind of it. But, well, again, sorry to keep harping on about it, but education. It's all about education.
Thank you very much, Warren. And just to note that Miriam Murphy's had to leave us then. She's time limited this evening. So, okay, thank you, Warren. And we'll take the same question to David Gorman, please.
Well, I said before, I mean, not being a member of the council yet, I'm not okay with where they're at with the protection of biodiversity. But I mean, it's to ensure that rules and policies that are there are adhered to, and you know, to keep it simple, to take a common sense approach, but ensure that I suppose best practice. So I'll leave it at that.
Okay, thank you very much, David. And we'll go to Pier Leonard with the same question.
Well, I think we've been really fortunate in Arklow because of the moratorium on development, that we've retained a lot of our green assets, such as the marsh and Leonard Forest and woods out there. So what I want to kind of work on over the next few years is trying to, you know, even increase the biodiversity in these areas even more by looking to maybe increase the continuous cover forestry in Leonard Forest, and to, you know, stop eating into the forest for development. We need that protected, our forest. It's a great amenity to have on the doorstep of the town. The vision for the Evoca, done by East Wicklow Rivers Trust and Faith Wilson, is a brilliant document. It's actually gathered all the academic research on the Evoca River into one document. And I think the actions out of that, I think we need to start working not only on the bigger picture of the Avoca mines and the leachates into the Avoca, but upstream as well. And fish barriers, removing the fish barriers. There's one coming out at Ballinglen now soon. And working on the catchment. I've developed the Harbour Headwater project with Donal O'Keefe through Arklow Town team. So it's an awareness project.
Sure. Okay, thank you for that. And the same question to Laurie, Kearon, please.
Well, there's a few things here that I would kind of like to see done, and it's all based on education, really. So community engagement and education regarding conservation areas and pollinator-friendly practices. I think if people know more, they can do more. So education, again, is the key with that. But we can collaborate with environmental groups. We can talk about legislation and policy enforcement, if you like, but I'd like to ensure to work with groups that are environmental to really push home that education about doing all those types of things which will bring back our sorry.
Thank you, Laurie. Sorry,
it's very off-putting.
when the axe falls. Thank you. Okay, the same question, please, to Shiela Busher.
Again, I don't really. I think planting trees and education, and working with the experts on this and finding out more of how we can get involved and how we can bring more people and educate them to know what to do and what's best practice and stuff like that. Like we have a great river there and we have lovely beaches and stuff like that. And again, it's really educating us how and taking the advice from the experts. And put on more workshops maybe in the town on what we all need to do and how we can all help and tackle it as a community.
Thank you very much, Shiela. And same question to Sylvester Burke, please.
Yes, well, I believe that wherever there is scope for more tree planting, we should be carrying that out, especially replacing all the dead ash trees that we have. We've got thousands of them in our area. They need to be all taken out and replaced. Perhaps multiples of what come out. And also, I think we have to be very careful with what way we, in the future, we explore our hills for minerals. I'd be very concerned that we could have a negative impact on our biodiversity if we were to allow uncontrolled mining of lithium, for example, if it was discovered here locally. There is talk about it over in the Carnew area, which is causing concern. And we have the challenge for the future of cleaning up our Avoca River, not just the sewage, but the leachate from Avoca mines. And I think that's an important thing we should focus on in the future, is to make sure that the powers that be bring all their resources to bear on cleaning up the leachate from the mines so that we can get biodiversity back into the river again.
Thank you, Sylvester. The same question to Viktoria Bodley, please.
Yes, I totally agree with everybody, but I think we're very lucky. It's a Garden of Ireland, Wicklow, County Wicklow. So, I'm a gardener myself, so I do have all kind of trees, and I have the oak, and I have ash tree, and I really cherish them and protect them. So I would do the same in public spaces, and I would introduce more Irish native species. As well as that, I love when my grass is cut, but I do let the wildflowers grow so that bees can have their food, and especially in the early spring, because bees are vitally important, as farmers know, for sustainable, for farmers, for everybody. So, and it is a crisis, because I do have connections with the beekeepers, and we really have to make sure that there is enough food for them every year to pollinate our crops. So this would be my focus.
Thank you very much, Viktoria. And lastly on this question to Tommy Annesley, please.
Thank you. This field that I'm involved with the tidy towns, they're doing a lot of actions to protect the coast and protect, like that's coast care would be doing cleanup on the beaches, and tidy towns groups that I'm involved with, they go out every Tuesday, Thursday and Saturday, and they take care of our parks. Now a lot of people say, why are the council not doing that? But council can only reach on so much with the budget they have, but we have actually specialists volunteering with the tidy towns to tell us what to plant and where to plant it. And it's very interesting for the people of Arklow and surrounding areas to get involved with the tidy towns groups, because they do learn a lot from, especially with the biodiversity. Now, I would know the difference between a geranium and a petunia, but when you go down to foxgloves or the natural plants that are Irish grown, it's very interesting going out and seeing what they're doing with them. And when you do go out and you clean an area and then you see the Irish flowers going up again. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Tommy. I'm going to come back to you again. We've got a change of tack with our next question here, and there's a sort of a sub bit to it, so I'll just read you and I might read it again. The question is, what will you do if elected to advocate for the provision of proper medical care for all in our municipal district and county, and in particular for older people? And the specifics to the Arklow area here are the Rathdrum and Arklow primary care centres. What will you do to help improve the situation for these? And in relation to children with additional needs, how would you tackle the huge waiting list for assessments and services? And what will you do to provide more safe spaces, sensory spaces, and so on? Okay, so just to give you the headline question again, which is, what will you do if elected to advocate for the provision of proper medical care for all in the municipal district and the county, and in particular for older people? Okay, so I've given you some of the specifics, but it's around what we'll do to essentially secure adequate provision of proper medical care. So Tommy, Annesley, I'll come back to you first, please.
Okay, as a sitting councillor, this is very disappointing for me. If I got ill or anyone got ill this evening, there's not a doctor available in Arklow, and we'll have to phone the care doc. First and foremost, we'll be 43 minutes on the phone waiting for the care doc to answer the phone. Then you'd go through a triage to see what's wrong with you. And then if they feel you're sick, then they'll ask you to come in. And then you could be sent off in an ambulance. And if you do go to the hospital, you could be there for hours. As we all know, this is not a political broadcast, but all I will say is, what will I do is what I have been doing. Another thing I get very frustrated over is when somebody moves into the town, they don't have a doctor because the doctors' waiting lists are so big. Now, I've been on to the Minister for Health, and he's washing me off. He's giving me not straight answers what he can do. So that is a very tough question, what I can do. But the only thing I can do is just keep on to the minister about it. And I'm sorry I don't have an answer for that question. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Tommy. The same question to Viktoria Bodley.
Okay, I was thinking quite hard about this question, and it is a tricky question. So what I would do, because I've been canvassing and talking to people, and I have close friends in ambulance service, so I kind of know a little bit now. The first thing I would probably do, I would utilize the primary care centre better than it is at the moment. Now, it's great that we have it, but I think if we could use it, and I totally agree with Tommy, and everybody knows that it's very hard to get GP, and we all know that. But if we could get, with all the technology, like we have Zoom sessions here, if we could get primary centre to make it a centre for phone calls to get first assessed, so the person, the doctor, nurse would be there who would see the patient and kind of get the first reference and then go from there. Second thing, I would get ground floor used for people with disabilities. I would have a nurse, district nurse, who would be there to look after, who would be actually trained for people with disabilities. That would be my focus. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Viktoria. And the same question to Sylvester Burke, please.
Yes, that's a very, very big, tough question, because we're all experiencing deficiencies in our local healthcare. We have great doctors, but there's not enough of them. So I think we need to train more doctors and have more doctors available to service the needs of our community, and that's the crunch. So it means we need to make changes at higher level education to increase the numbers of students who are allowed to study medicine and many of them have to go abroad to study medicine. I think it's crazy. So that's the first starting point. And I would certainly be lobbying our ministers more if constituents come to me with specific problems about lack of access. I would be lobbying as strongly as possible to ensure that changes are made to improve the service for everybody. I mean, last year I got a piece of glass in my foot. I had to do surgery on it myself to get it out. I couldn't get a doctor locally. I couldn't get to accident emergency, and I couldn't get care doc. So I got into a hot bath.
Okay, thank you very much, Sylvester. I think everybody, it just presumes that story ended well, given that we couldn't get the you're with us today.
I'll tell you, to finish it off very quickly, I had to get into a hot bath for an hour. It softened up the skin enough to massage the needle, a little diamond shape.
It's as good as getting the broadcast of live surgery on telly. Scary.
You know where to go now, Sylvester.
This could be recruitment for something totally different going on now. Okay, so it's tempting to say, Shiela Busher, I'm sorry, you've got to follow that, but it's over to you now.
How can I follow that? Can you?
Oh no, you've just
Can you hear? Yeah. Again, I think being local and you're hearing the people, especially elderly people waiting for a doctor. We've a lovely health centre down there. It's not used with the embargo that the government have stopped health services. So, you know, hiring staff, this is what you hear. Also, you look at the waiting lists to see a doctor and our ambulance service. We fought for a lovely ambulance unit down there and it's gone now. We have to go after 8 o'clock to either Wicklow or Wexford for an ambulance or a care doc. So I'd hope if I get in that we'd be able to inform people and of the services that are in the town and the services they, you know, that are needed, and be a voice for them and bring their concerns to the people that need to be listening, which is the government and the health board.
Thank you very much, Shiela. And that same question then to Laurie, Kearon.
Yeah, this is a difficult subject, and I'll go back to what I said earlier about people who are caring for people. As I say, my daughter's a carer, and one of the things she said to me was, if she got a bit more training, she might be allowed to do some basic nursing. So that means that would stop older people from going into hospital if she could do simple things like administer painkillers or even administer a drip for hydration. Those two simple things, which she's not allowed to do, would stop older people going into hospital. The other thing is public transport for healthcare access. I don't think it's very easy for our local people to actually get on a bus and get to St. Vincent's or somewhere like that. So something like that needs to be looked at as well. What we are severely lacking in our area is mental health services, and that is something I would really like to look at if I'm elected.
Thank you very much, Laurie, for that. And Pier, Leonard, same question to you.
Yeah, no, look, it's a huge issue, and I think we have a fantastic building over there. I'm not on. There is a HSE forum in Wicklow County Council. I don't sit on it, but I did, when I saw the questions, I sent in we have a reps line to the HSE to just see what services were in the building currently over there, but I haven't had a reply on it yet. So I think we should just assess it first, what's actually over there. What is the plan for what's coming, you know, and give them a chance to kind of put what's, you know, there might be stuff in the pipeline that is just obstacles in place, and then assess it, and then do a whole review on and maybe a survey for the town and get input from the people and what they're actually witnessing and their day-to-day obstacles that are in front, you know, and their use of the HSE centre and the GP services. I know that we all assume that there's no GPs for a certain reason, but I was up in a GP there before Christmas, and actually on the wall they had a poster saying a lot of people aren't turning up for their appointments. So we need the facts, and then we need to kind of make a plan going forward.
Thank you very much, Pier, Leonard. David Gorman, same question to you.
Thank you. Yeah, I suppose following on what Pier was saying there, firstly, I'd want a review of the services that the new health centre are supposed to be providing, and then what they actually are. And you know, are there overlaps between the different centres? So I mean, instead of two centres providing the same service, so it even involves people having to travel a bit, and figure out what are they not providing and how we best go about, excuse me, securing them. Keeping things simple. I mean, if we need A, B, and C, well, let's go and get A first, and then move to B, and then C, rather than sometimes the approach is that we need all of this, and they're charging trying to get all of this, and you go around in circles. Rather than just get one thing at a time. I mean, we do have, it is a fabulous building. I've been in it and the services. So, yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Thank you very much, David. And to you, Warren, or Toole.
Timely access to local healthcare is essential. We need a pharmacy first model. We're not utilising the pharmacies, and they've got plenty of experience. And if we do this, it relieves pressure on the GPs, which then also relieves pressure on hospitals. Investment is needed in public nursing homes and community beds to speed up hospital discharges where appropriate and to provide care in the community accordingly. In regards to the primary care centre, it's an absolute disgrace, and it's great to see that the other councillors agree with the state of the lack of support by the government into this. Under the current government, there's been they've stopped recruitment in the health service, and this needs to be lifted, and suitable clinicians need to be put in place in the primary care centre, which leads on to the next part with kids with being diagnosed for different things. They need to have OTs, physios, nutritionists, psychology. Everything needs to be in the one place. And the government decentralised all.
Thanks, Warren. Sorry, you obviously got more to say there. And sorry for the frustration for cutting people off like this. I'm really aware for the people who sent in questions and who will be listening to the responses on this, that the more questions we get through, the better. And we are making great strides on that. So I'm going to press on and give you the next question, and I'll come back to you then, if I may, Warren, in relation to this. So this question is that in regard to crime, what would you like to see happening locally to make our community safe for all, including migrants and asylum seekers? And if you like, the specific to the Arklow area following that is more boots on the streets in Auckland, and what will you do to help improve the situation? Okay, so that, does anyone, well, I might just repeat it. In regard to crime, what would you like to see happening locally to make our community safe for all, including migrants and asylum seekers? Okay, and then this reference specifically to Auckland. So I'm going to go back to Warren O'Toole. Please start.
Yeah, well, look, everybody in every community has the right to feel safe in order to thrive and flourish. And currently, there's less guards on the street and there's less guard stations open. Again, these have been systematically closed and defunded by the powers that be. This has to change. We need to allow a situation that there's more guards. They're encouraged to come in. They're annoyed with the way the situation is at the moment, and we're hearing it on the doors. Even the guards are telling us there's no effort in recruiting new guards, and there's no investment in community and youth services. We need to put more guards basically back on the street. A real focus needs to be put on working with the guards to make sure that they are being looked after and that they're encouraged to stay within the force, because too many of them are leaving also. We need audits of streetscapes, lighting. We need to basically help people feel safe within the communities.
Yeah, sorry, I knew the clock was going to beat you again. Sorry, Warren. Okay, thank you for that. And the same question then to David Gorman.
Thank you. Following what Warren said there, I mean, we need to employ more guards, and we need to have an Irish department interviewing, not farming it out to an English company to interview for our guards for Ireland. It's a crazy situation. More Gardaí, a drug squad for Arklow. I mean, the Gardaí should be allowed to do their jobs without government interference. The ordinary Garda body have highlighted this themselves, that they have to have a hands-off approach in all areas. The hands are being tied when it comes to small petty crime, which does lead. We need more patrols in rural areas. I don't think I've ever seen a patrol car out my way. And then on the streets, we need more. Every now and again, you see some out walking, you go, isn't that great? Or you see them flying by on a push bike. We need more of that in all the towns and villages.
Okay, thank you very much, David. Same question to you, Pier Leonard.
I think, look at it again, it's back to our, kind of regeneration of our towns and, town centres and villages. I think the more people that we have on the streets, the more passive surveillance we have and the less antisocial behaviour. We need things for young people to do. We need prevention, drugs prevention, which hasn't been a thing. That's something that needs to happen in the next few years, and that the Drugs Task Force are actively working on. It's a lot easier to prevent, somebody taking drugs than fix, the long term. And a lot of the crime is drug related. A lot of the really horrific crime is drug related. We need safe spaces for women, for young women. Young women are very vulnerable, and especially when it comes to drugs and domestic violence, and they're just targets. So we need more facilities to empower them and to support them. We need things for people to do that are in recovery, so that there's an alternative there. Am I out of time?
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Okay, and the same question to you, Laurie, Kearon.
Yeah, so I concur with really what everyone else has said. I quite agree. Drugs Task Force, absolutely tick. Women's help for domestic violence, absolutely tick. But the Garda question is a national question, really. But at the same time, I accept that we need a guard in our little station in Rathdrum, and we haven't had one there full time for many years, and Arklow as well. It's the same thing. Without a Garda in our station, in our villages, we are all very vulnerable, and that is the problem. I don't know how to answer it. As I said, it's a national question rather than a question for our area only, but absolutely more boots on the streets is what we need, and there's no question about it.
Thank you very much, Laurie. And same question to Shiela Busher, please.
Like the fellow members there said, we need more guards on the street. We need the rural police stations manned, because in Avoca, Rathdrum and Arklow, there's a time when they're there and there's a time when they're not there, and we do need more guards on the street. More supports for addictions, education, all that kind of thing we need. Like what Pier said, we see young girls coming out of rehab and there's no supports there for them. They're just thrown back in to the system, and more supports for people.
Thank you very much, Shiela. The same question to Sylvester Burke, please.
Well, yes, I agree with previous speakers as well, but I do think that Gardaí, and I know a great many of them and have great respect for them, and they do a great job by and large. I think we do need more community policing and more embedding of guards in society, in our clubs, for example, and organisations. I think that would be helpful. I think they have to play a cuter game, and by that I mean if they were more plugged in to what people are thinking about, maybe those Dublin riots mightn't have got going as quickly as they did, or they might have been better able to react to what was coming. So that's what I mean. They need to be a little bit street smarter to try to get ahead of the negativity that's out there and the people that are willing to have a go at any chance they get, because I think that will be a more effective way of making our society more peaceful and happier for everybody.
Very much, Sylvester. Can I take the same question to Viktoria Bodley, please?
Yeah, I think it's been said, everything's been said here. So I just want to add that I do agree with Pier Leonard that we do need more spaces, safe spaces for women, and it's very important so that people do know that there's a safe place for them to come back. And community centre for all would be the ideal that we don't have at the moment. And I do agree with Steve as well that if the Gardaí would be actually more present in our community daily life, so that would actually make an effect and impact big time. That's it.
Thank you very much, Viktoria. And Tommy Annesley.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, like it's the Gardaí have a lot of responsibilities, but also parents have a lot of responsibilities. And when I say parents, the attitude of people towards the Gardaí, like I have witnessed firsthand the Gardaí being abused. Now, I was brought up in an era, if you've seen a guard on this side of the street, you cross over to the far side of the street, you treated them with respect. And I think that's missing in society. And that this is where education needs to happen as well, because you see things happening in schools that shouldn't be happening in schools. Yes, we do need more Gardaí on the street, but when the Gardaí are called out to an incident, like if there's a major incident, all the Gardaí go to it, and that then leaves a space for criminals to get up to their activities. Like the drugs task force was mentioned. We haven't got a drugs task force in Arklow, but the amount of drugs that has been found in the town and surrounding areas is phenomenal. Thank you.
Thank you, Tommy. Okay, I'm just, we need to wrap up very shortly, but there is sort of two questions off the end. There's one that I think if Grania can magic her timer to 30 seconds, you might all just get through pretty quickly, okay? And this is a very specific question that asks, if you're elected, how will we, meaning all of your electorate, all of those people who vote in the Arklow area, and indeed all the citizens in the Arklow area, how will they be able to engage with you? Okay, so we're looking for a short and snappy response, please. Grania, is that okay? Can we do that? Cool. Okay, so just 30 seconds maximum, but just to tell people, please, if you're elected, how can people get hold of you other than just at local election time? So I guess you can get the message behind that. So other than this time, 4 years in the future, how do they get in touch with you if you're elected? All right, so I'm going to start with you, please, Tommy, if I can. Tommy Annesley.
My mobile phone. Okay, never turned off, 24/7, 7 days a week. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, and Viktoria Bodley.
I have my mobile phone as well. I would have my email that I always check, and I have my website, so all the information is there, and I'm always on the phone as well and I will respond as fast as I can, and I will always call back if I didn't respond at the time of the call. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Sylvester Burke?
Yeah, similarly, mobile phone and email, I'm there all the time, 24/7, always willing to engage.
Thank you very much. And Shiela Busher?
I'm never off the phone. Anyone that knows me would know if I'm getting a cup of tea. I'm never off at weekends. I get calls from homeless people, and most of the community know where I am or they'll knock the door. I hope to continue that, though everyone is saying you need a time for family, which I hope I'll be able to do that. But other than that, email and by phone.
Thank you very much, Shiela. Laurie, Kearon?
I'm always, or would be always available by phone or email, but I was thinking I might try and organise an online platform to add it to my social media pages as well.
Thank you very much, Laurie. Pier Leonard?
Mobile phone, and I have a very active Facebook page. It's been going for 5 years. It's full of energy left in it for another 5 years to keep everybody informed and provide a platform for conversation and keep the transparency for everybody to let them know what's going on. I intend to kind of going forward, put the minutes and agendas of meetings up on it. I think it would, because people need to understand the political system, and I think that's important going forward. Thanks.
Thanks very much, Pier. David Gorman.
Well, as others are saying, I'll be the same. Phone, social media. I do see that some councillors around the country hold regular clinics at set times and places, and I think that might be something to look at as well.
Thank you very much. And Warren O'Toole. Sorry, still muted, Warren.
Phone, social media, and email, whatever suits.
Great, thank you. I'm sorry, I just wanted to get that in. I know everybody, I can see just by the lights in people's screens are just, you know, the energy is going, you know, people's batteries are dying. So I'd just like to say thank you very much indeed for that, for all your time, and the fact that this then becomes available for wider consumption, which is a great opportunity, obviously, for us to support our local democracy. I'm going to hand over now to Carina Holmes from the Wicklow Older People's Council to sign us all off. So Carina, over to you.
Thanks very much, Harriet. I'd just like to say on behalf of the Wicklow PPN and the Wicklow Older People's Council, we would really like to thank you all for joining us this evening. We'd also like to thank Harriet for facilitating our event. We hope that this meeting has given our members a sound introduction to all the candidates. We also hope that the meeting has provided an insight into where all the candidates' interests lie and what work and issues they might prioritise if they are successful on the 7th of June. We hope that in turn the meeting has given candidates an insight into the concerns and priorities of our members, and that should they be successful on the 7th of June, that they will work towards achieving positive outcomes on many, if not all, of these issues. As Conor mentioned earlier, we are aware that there has been an issue. There have been far more questions submitted to us than the time to answer these. We've developed a document containing all the questions, and this was sent to all the candidates in the hope that they will use them as a reminder of what our members see as important and what members will use to measure their work by in the future. A link to the document will also be shared in the upcoming PPN newsletters. We'd encourage you all to look at the PPN election special newsletter sent on the 26th of April. All newsletters are on the PPN website. We would also like to draw the candidates' attention to the visions for community wellbeing that were developed from extensive consultations in 2018 and reviewed during consultations in 2022. These can be found in the Wicklow PPN website. The Arklow MD Vision for Community Wellbeing states that collaborative working in the Arklow MD provides a welcoming, inclusive and vibrant community with access to excellent services that enables its people, environment, community and economy to thrive. We hope that the collaboration and engagement this evening continues and that we can work together to achieve this vision. And we just finally like to thank you all for being with us, the candidates, and we wish you the best of luck in the upcoming elections. And just as a little final moment on the Older People's Council, just for out of interest, 27% of Wicklow's population is over 55 years old. So this is a very important and growing body in our communities. So just we'll say a good night and thank you very much for your.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good night now, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Goodbye all, and best of luck.
Bye bye.
Thanks a
Thank
million.
you.